session.
Beth Meyer should
Thank
be
you.
on Zoom. Yes.
If he can get his.
He, yeah.
Okay. While Sarah's getting this hooked up, we're going to go ahead and start our work session. We got two items on it tonight. First one is unregulated gaming machines. You guys have probably all seen the news lately. Anything you guys want to talk about? I'll go.
Didn't hear you, Bill. I'm sorry.
Unregulated gaming machines. You guys all know what happened. Chief Carroll advised all of us that what happened, and there was actually one business here, the Ten Brook Station Lounge was actually the only one in Jefferson County that was affected, and there were, I think, 10 locations across the state, if I'm not mistaken.
There was 5 people indicted. 4 was 21 felonies.
Anyway, you guys know that it's about a year ago that we put in an ordinance that nobody else in the county thought was worth doing. I know Festus and Crystal City went a different way from what Arnold did, but we actually did at least put a license on them, and it was a license and to actually have the machines, and then there was a per machine fee that we assessed on this, and and that was actually all there was to it. So if you guys have anything you'd like to talk about on this tonight, floor is open.
I mean, I think at this time that business license should be removed and put a post out and let everybody know that they're currently not.
Well, we're not going to go and shut down the operators of these machines.
No, that's not. I'm saying
You're talking about
the city not providing a business ordinance, which sounds like it's an administrative thing.
well, we have
Or not the ordinance,
there's an
the
ordinance out
permit.
there that requires business licenses. These are something separate in addition to their ordinary business license, and we do have the ability to revoke a business license if somebody doesn't pay attention. But, I just did a little straw poll. I drove down, the places I knew had the machines, and every one of them had them either removed or they were unplugged, or in the case of Midwest Petroleum, they actually had them unplugged and turned around where nobody can even see them. So
possible clarity. I just want to make sure when we're saying business license, we mean basically the license for the gaming license.
That is correct.
Not an actual
yeah,
business.
no, we're not going to affect their business.
I'm talking about the gaming because if you look
Yeah.
on social media, there was posts out there saying, well, Arnold gave us a license and we're permitted to do it.
And
So
that
that way it's clear.
And part of our restriction was that they are not allowed to violate state law. So, and that's where we're going. So unless anybody's got anything else about it, EJ?
Yeah, and I did receive some communication from a couple of the businesses, one being affected, potentially affected, I guess. And she kind of echoed from a business standpoint her sentiments in regards to the gaming. And she's fully aware, and she's been speaking. She appreciates what the city of Arnold did with these, with the licensing and the way that we put them in place. And I think this failure is on the state. The state has had so many opportunities to correct this issue, and they haven't. And we're still at the point where, I mean, I'm not a legal mind here, but looking at all the different terminology and all that, there's still due process being done. There's so many different legal ramifications or legal remedies in different situations. And to my knowledge, I don't know that anybody's actually been fully prosecuted. It's been, charges put on by the attorney general. And so I think there's still a lot of different things to kind of take a look at and play out here. And I think in regards to it, I think what we have done in talking with the businesses affected by this, they appreciate what we've done, and they understand that, we don't trump the state law, and they're trying to do, I think, everything they can to kind of work and just understand everything here. I think these businesses are trying to do a good job to help the public understand what's going on too. So I appreciate the businesses that are working with us, complying with not only us, the state, and just trying to get through that. So.
Sure. Okay.
Bob, do you have anything to say to this, please?
Sure. So just to be clear, we're not talking about taking anybody's business license because they have a separate business license. They didn't do anything wrong in terms of getting their gaming permit. I mean, at this juncture, the reason I would sort of disagree with this notion, due process is continuing. However, at this point, we have a court decision that was the losing party in that, Torch, did not get an injunction, did not get a stay of that order. That order, that's the law right now. In addition, you now have the Attorney General, a new Attorney General who has said these devices are illegal, and she's prosecuting them. I think it's a fool's errand for us to continue to license these machines under those circumstances. I think it's a little bit risky. We attempted to address the issue of businesses saying the city of Arnold gave us a permit, therefore we have an imprimatur of authority to do that by telling people when we did this that this permit does not trump state law or anything that occurs, and do not try to use this as a shield to, state or federal prosecution. We were clear with regard to that.
Letters went to every business that has a machine.
Yeah,
Stating.
So we made it crystal clear, do not try to use this as a shield because it won't work. Now, people will still do it because
People are.
they either don't read it or they're desperate or, there's all kinds of reasons. But I mean, as of this day, I think it's risky for us to not participate in the termination of these machines.
Excuse me, can you guys hear me? I'm on Zoom.
We hear you.
Okay. Because the screens aren't on. You guys could see me if I was on Zoom. Okay. Thank you. I just want you to know I'm present. I'm present in this meeting.
So I don't know if that answered your question.
It did, Bob. Yes. I wanted your opinion as the attorney for the city.
Bill, can I just add one thing?
You just did.
Can I add a second
ahead.
thing? So the post in question, I think the one that Brad is speaking of, I saw as well. And this particular business was trying to say, well, the state of Arnold said we could do it, and obviously we just discussed this, but I only bring this up for the point of the public and our attempt to be very clear with the public that, even though they're trying to, they posted the City of Arnold thing on their social media and said, well, the City of Arnold said we could do it, what's the problem, and obviously the state law, I guess, trumps that. And so I know we're going to release a statement just so the public understands, that what they're trying to do here, is not going to work. So just wanted to mention that. I guess we'll include that. Okay.
Okay, very well.
Yeah.
Brad, do you have something?
I was just gonna confirm that we're gonna send a statement out that basically says that, they're suspended. We're waiting on legal direction. And they have to conform at this point.
I think General Hanaway has already made that statement for us.
Understand, but just
Send something out from our.
kind of to piggyback off of Tim, right?
Sure.
that We have publicly shared where we're at.
Thank you.
We'll
we-
have it on our social media. We'll also throw it on our website.
Very good, thank you.
Matt?
We don't want any question that
No, of
the
course
city
not.
is
More a question for Tammy. What was the cost of the permits for each business? Do we know?
It's for the business itself.
Yeah,
well,
to operate with unregulated gaming machines.
It's 500 per location, 250 per machine, and 2,000 for the supplier per license year.
Okay.
I don't know who pays for the business. It could be the supplier that pays for the business, not the business itself that actually writes the check.
Because I saw some of the dates like on Facebook post. I think it was good till 2027 or
We're
something.
good for a year. They were renewing as this all happened.
Okay.
So I had already sent out renewals when this had been made, the judgment had been made.
Very well. Thank you.
They'll get that money back, right? If they can't.
That's
use
up
them.
to the council.
Oh, okay.
I would think so.
All right. That's it? Next one's my new favorite, House Bill 2818. You guys all know about this one? I sent you guys some notes on it so you understand what's going on. This is where Jefferson County, of the 114 counties in our state, Jefferson County gets singled out by this this bill. It's passed the Senate and passed the House, and it's going to the governor's desk. What I've asked you guys to do is sign a letter saying that we strongly object to the idea that Jefferson County is being singled out for the tender mercies of this bill. And anyway, that's what it is. It would prevent us from doing any annexations. Like if we went out and did an annexation in our midst, it unfairly burdens Jefferson County alone. And it would also say that if you do one annexation, you can't do another one for 2 years. So it's not very good. I would encourage you guys to read it. Just do a Google search and read what House Bill 2818 does. So that's really about it.
Find it.
We do have some things we do want to look at annexation. The city's been looking at doing annexation for a long time, and there's a couple of them in the works, and I'm going to be bringing this up at a future work session. So I just want to touch on what 2818 is. Thank you all. That's all I got. You guys have anything you'd like to say about it? That was easy. Okay, we're going to adjourn our work session. We're going to go ahead and begin a city council meeting. So wish you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, we ask for your wisdom as we begin this meeting. We acknowledge that we need your wisdom and insights as we welcome your presence among us. Guide us in our discussions and our decisions, helping us to seek what is best for all involved. We trust in your perfect wisdom and ask that you direct our meeting according to your will. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Tammy, Dr. Roll call.
Bill Moritz,
I'm here.
Troy Blackshear,
Here.
Michael Rathmeyer,
Here on Zoom.
Matthew Saller,
Here.
Rodney Mullins,
Here.
Brad Carey,
Here.
Michael Rother,
Here.
Tim Seidenstricker,
Here.
EJ Fleischman,
Here.
Anthony Traxler.
Here.
Sarah Turner. Here. Bill Lehman.
Here.
Bob Sweeney.
Here.
Dave Crutchley.
Here.
James Pogorzelski,
Excused.
Mark Hood.
Here.
Chief Carroll.
Here.
Okay. Before we go on, I got a statement I'd like to read. On 16 April, I reported the steps that I would implement to address the findings in the audit with respect to the ARC and the Triangle TDDs. Below are the actions taken since our last meeting. First, I met with the city attorney, and we have decided the best way for the city to move forward is to prepare an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications for city attorney services. That took place. On 29 April, the RFQ was released and posted on the East-West Gateways job posting site and on the Missouri Municipal League Attorney Association site. After Friday, 29 May, when the deadline passes, we will review the applicants and go from there. There will be a selection committee similar to what we had for the city administrator's position. Second, an RFQ is being prepared for the TDD financial bookkeeping services. I anticipate a firm will be selected by the TDD boards at the next scheduled meeting for 12 August. The selected firm will handle all the bookkeeping for the TDDs and will be responsible for submitting the annual reports. Third, I said that I would look into changes to the board composition. Former City Council Representative Gary Plunk voluntarily resigned from the Triangle TDD and the Arnold Retail Corridor TDD boards. Those boards will determine who replaces Gary. Fourth, we have already notified retailers in the district of their obligation to display the TDD sales tax rates. That reminder was issued about 3 weeks ago. Last, we moved to the TDD meeting, which typically meets during the day, to an evening time to make it easier for the public to attend. We had about 10 people attend our most recent meeting on Tuesday. I'll report continued progress as we go along and look forward to hearing from and working with City Council and Arnold residents on additional ways we can improve. Thank you all. We're up to business from the floor. Anyone in the audience who wishes to address the City Council on any matter of city business may come forward to the microphone. Please note that you must be physically present in the council chambers to participate. Participation via Zoom for this section is not permitted. When you come forward, please state your name and address for the record before speaking. You'll be allowed 3 minutes to present your comments. This will be your only time to speak during the City Council meeting unless authorized by the City Council. We have a couple of polls.
Name's Gerald Ford, 756 Mary Lane, Arnold, Missouri. On the TDD board, I attended it. I'm thankful that everybody could attend, but you showed no figures about anything. So we have no idea how much money they collected, who they spent it to, or they gave it to. You need to give that to the public where they can see it. Because I've looked at where the city of Arnold has spent money they shouldn't have and did things they shouldn't have done. More eyes are on it, more things can be figured out. I want to apologize for Bill. When I seen that he was on the board, I figured he knew it all because we had some discussions about collecting sales tax they're not supposed to. Did get it corrected through the Attorney General. About the city attorney, I think you need to hire a full-time attorney, somebody that's working for the city, not billable hours. And it's just not the salaries. I think we spent $270,000 last year for an attorney. I believe we can hire one for less. On that subject, you also have liability insurance. By paying out more money in claims and settlements and so forth and so on, has to cost the city more money. Businesses don't run at a loss. That's that simple. So when you're figuring that in, you need to figure in if the city can get those losses down. And how do we get there? Perfect example is a trailer court. I think the city passed ordinance to stop them doing what they were doing. All you do is look at it. I can't see the city going to court on that. So I believe they'll settle it because they won't win in court, I believe. Go to court and we'll figure it out. Next subject has been brought up to me. They've taken council members that have been voted out of office by the public, the voting public, and been put in spots on boards. You know, you got to remember, you vote putting council members back on the board, election starts again in December. You know, I'm going to have a scorecard on each council member, and I'm going to rate you just like the state did and the audit. You don't look good. They gave you the lowest scored possible. To change that, you got to change what you're doing. You can't keep going down the same road. You know, the car wash deal is a perfect example. During the last meeting they had at planning and zoning, they had so many questions and everyone I saw was 100% legitimate. They voted it down. The way I interpret it, Brian MacArthur voted for it because of this, this, and this. He gave excuses. You can go back and review the bill and see if I'm right. But we need changes in Arnold. Do you see any barndominiums, Arnold? Do you see any tiny homes? All I see is Arnold tearing things down. Where's Old Town Arnold at? Go to Festus. You know, Kimswick, St. Charles, they've got something. All the city of Arnold does is create blight by threatening to take people's businesses. That's creating blight. A good businessman would not rent a building knowing the city's coming to throw you out on the street and said it publicly.
Next, Jerome. Anybody else?
I don't have any other.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you all. Consent agenda? Would you please read the consent agenda for this evening?
Items on tonight's consent agenda are minutes from the April 16th, 2026 meeting. Payroll warrant number T009977 in the gross pay amount of $435,291.25. And general warrant number 5905 in the total pay amount of $1,463,308.94.
Very well. You guys, I'd like a motion and a second for approval of the. Troy,
I'll second.
Brad, roll call vote, please.
Troy Blackshear,
Yes.
Michael Rethmeyer,
Yes.
Matthew Saller,
Yes.
Rodney Mullins,
Yes.
Brad Carey,
Yes.
Michael Rother,
Yes.
Tim Seidenstricker.
Yes.
DJ Fleischman,
Yes.
8 yeas.
Thank you. Up to ordinances, bill number 2926.
Bill number 2926, an ordinance amending Title I, Article 1, Section 110 of the Code of Ordinances, establishing a universal termination date for all boards and commissions.
Thank you. Anthony, would you please explain this to everybody?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. This is an ordinance that essentially establishes a universal termination date for all boards and commissions. Currently, they're kind of scattered and kind of all over the place, difficult to manage. So this will basically make it a lot easier, not just for the mayor as far as appointments, but the council as well. We'll probably start reviewing, the mayor will probably start, reviewing existing members, probably in September, October, and then we did the December 31st date too, in case there's a change in the mayor. It gives a potential future mayor an opportunity to work with existing board members for a while, plenty of time to settle in before they make that. I know Terry's job has been kind of difficult, keeping track of everybody, appointing somebody each time. There's also, I know not part of this ordinance, but we do have a lot of boards and commissions that haven't met, in some cases, 5-10 years. This might be a good example where something we want to do a work session in the future to see if those boards are still valuable and something that the council's interested in. If that's the case, in some cases, we'll need to reappoint entire boards because some of these people have either moved, or there's cases where some people have even passed on. So we'll probably have that as a future work session, but at least this cleans up this process, establishes that process to make it streamline it, make it a little easier for everyone in the future. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a good question. Yeah, so I understand the streamlining and that portion of it. So as far as the appointment process goes, would each board and individual be still chosen individually and we would vote on the board, or would it be?
The way we wrote the resolution was basically just everyone that's already been appointed is on there. And it's just basically, in some cases, they may end up, because, let's say you were going to expire, say February. Well, that's been pushed to December. So some people might actually gain a little additional term, but we decided, do we go back on some? Do we go forward on some? We figured it was just easier to have everyone move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, the way the resolution's written, it's everybody.
I mean, I think my only concern with that is, when it comes to the boards and commissions, I think having the opportunity to understand when you put them all in one lump sum or one lump.
In the future, we can do them individually. These are just essentially people that have already been appointed. I misunderstood, EJ. I apologize. So in the future, if the mayor nominates somebody, we would have separate resolutions for each person.
Okay.
In the future for new members. I apologize. I misunderstood what you were asking.
What about existing members?
The way the resolution's written, if you are on now, you will remain on. You will just your date will just in some cases.
Well,
people's date didn't change, but everyone's will end.
I'm meaning at their termination date, are they then voted on individually?
No,
After, if there's a reappointment, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
there's a reappointment, yes, because
Yes.
some people are not going to continue. Some people may choose, they don't want to do it anymore.
But I'm just making sure it's not an automatic that it just keeps going on, that we vote. That's what EJ's
That's
asking.
why there's a date. We can always review what's going on.
Yeah. And really what you should see is if somebody moves out of town or for some reason needs to request to be, they can't no longer serve on a board. We'll still get a couple throughout the year, but for the most part, it'll be a process. Probably that first meeting in December will probably, or second meeting, it depends on where the holidays fall, but usually that first meeting in December, we'll probably go through this. That's the thought process behind this.
So,
EJ, you had something else?
yeah, so if I can just understand this, I'm sorry. So like when it goes into place, they would all be appointed on the same night, like reappointed, but we would still look at them individually.
You'd have multiple resolutions on one agenda.
Okay.
You see that the way it's working now, it's chaotic because we don't have a set way of doing this. And seems like every month we have somebody being reappointed to a board or, a new person. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
it's just to make sure that sorry, EJ, it's just to make sure that you actually have an opportunity to vote on each person, whether you're for or against, not as a by proxy.
We will absolutely have the resolutions like that in the future. I just misunderstood what EJ was asking. I thought he meant about the reappointments, but any new appointment or in the future, when one of these members, so somebody's term expires December 31, 2026, in December sometime this year, you would have an individual resolution for that particular individual.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good cleanup and, thanks for that clarification on that. That was my kind of only hang up there. I think this is, a good step forward because I've been part of conversations through the years where we've literally had to go through books and papers to see who's still on boards and who's, cleaning up. And I've been part of conversations with Tammy and Terry and combing through papers and papers. And so I'm glad to see this cleanup and I think that will help. And to your point, we also have some good commissions out there that haven't met. And I think this will, I think beautification being one of them and a few others where they would be great. And I think this will allow us to get some of those individuals on there that currently are not, can't continue to serve and kind of get those committees up and running again.
One thing that does not change is that the mayor appoints and you guys approve.
Right.
Okay. All right, that's it. Any other comments?
I have a comment, if I may, Mike Rethmeyer. It's my understanding that we recently had somebody step down for a personal reason for a period of 1 year on the planning commission. What's been decided on that? Have we,
Nothing's been decided yet.
okay, I was just curious.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
That particular member is on a leave of absence and he asked for 1 year off. And that was granted.
Okay.
Okay. Can we have second reading on this bill, please?
Bill number 2926, an ordinance amending Title I, Article 1, Section 110 of the Code of Ordinances, establishing a universal termination date for all boards and commissions.
Okay. Any other questions before we go on? Roll call vote, please.
Troy Blackshear,
Yes.
Michael Rethmeyer,
Yes.
Matthew Sour,
Yes.
Rodney Mullins,
Yes.
Brad Carey,
Yes.
Michael Rother,
Yes.
Tim Seidenstricker,
Yep.
EJ Fleischman,
Yes.
8 yeas.
Okay. Next is Bill 2927.
Bill number 2927, an ordinance providing for the amendment of the fiscal year 2026 budget.
Bill, would you please?
Thank you, Mayor. All council members, you should have a copy of that at your place,
Yes.
which is the budget adjustments as documented. Also in the packet of the agenda that was sent out, there was a memo, a cover memo on this, and I'll just recap that. Is a mid-year budget adjustment process is a standard process that we do. We go through a detailed budget development process, which is eventually brought here and presented multiple times and then approved. And that gets locked in place and it becomes our benchmark as we're spending money throughout the year that we measure ourselves against. What happens though, the reality of a given year is we'll have either various things come up that were unexpected that the council decides that they would like to pursue. So in some cases, they're not included in the budget. When we approve the expenditure, that doesn't adjust the budget, it just approves the money to be spent. So this is a chance to catch up with some of those events. And then secondly, there are some items that are being suggested in here and they'll come back to the council when it's time to find a vendor and approve the expenditure. So there's like two different types of things in here, but bottom line is I instructed department heads to try to look for offsetting, if they want to increase a line item, to try to find other line items that they can take money from where it's not going to be fully spent by the end of the year. So that's what this is. It's a combination of those things. So starting from left to right, and most of this comes out of the accounting system, we identify each of the departments and the particular general ledger in the yellow. And then in the green, the first part of the green, you have the activity, the current budget. And then the activity, that's actually money spent. Those are checks already cut in the activity column. Encumbrances are money that we know will be spent because there's a purchase order already in, or there's an invoice received and it hasn't been paid yet. And when you carry those over, it basically the current budget minus activity and encumbrances equals the budget remaining column. So that's that column that starts right before the narratives on the right-hand side. So the first column on the right-hand side is the amount that's being requested to either either be added to the budget or in some cases taking it out of a line, the dollar amount, and then the explanation. And these are all put in here by department heads. And then each individual department is subtotaled in blue. And then on the very last page is the net of all the budget adjustments, which is a net increase of $495,260. And I think our total budget was about 20 million or so, to give you some perspective on it. So it's not a crazy large percentage, but if you have any questions, we can try to answer them here in the room. If the department head is here or myself or Anthony. Otherwise, this is a pretty standard process and methodology that we use. EJ?
Yeah, I just have a specific question. So I understand the process and kind of going over, I guess my question is looking at the Parks and Recreation under land and building. So it looks to add $75,000 and it mentions the parking lot, market, restroom installation at Ozark, the pickleball court. And it says these projects were approved by the mayor and city council after the budget was adopted. Where, I kind of look back, I'm trying to see where we approved that or how that process took place.
I don't particularly know. I mean, I was.
You don't recall voting on, or, I mean, is that the process? I want to make sure I'm understanding the process. I don't recall approving any of those projects. And I tried to go back and try to find those projects, but it says that we approved those after the budget was in place, but I don't see that we as a council had initiated those projects.
Yeah, and respectfully, the reason what I'm saying is I wouldn't be the one presenting it for approval, so I don't know, and I don't have a track record of all the meetings and the minutes and whatnot here. I don't know if anybody else, if Dave or Tammy can speak to that, if you have any.
Not off the top of my head.
But again, if there's money that has been spent, and maybe that's what that's referring to, because we have to pay contractors and whatnot. At some point, if it's above our expenditure threshold, which is now what, Anthony, 13,500, I think, it has to come to council for approval. Any expenditure of that magnitude. So I don't have a specific answer to the question. We can research that further for you if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my only concern is in a normal process for each of these projects listed in there, you know, it already shows that the projects have been initiated or started. But with it not being in the original budget and us, like I said, I don't recall voting on any of these projects. So would that not be the normal process where we would have to initiate these projects?
Yeah, well,
and start it?
and I suppose that leads to two options. Then you can either choose to approve all of this stuff without that, and then it has to come back, you know, later. Or you can say, you know, with the exception that we expect you to bring this for approval, if that's in fact the case. Does that make sense?
Kind of, yes.
It does not to me.
And you know,
But,
I'm just,
I'm sorry, I do not ever remember voting on any of those items either.
Which items are you
What-
referring?
They were talked about, but never voted on, to my knowledge.
the parking lot at the market, the restroom installation at basically all those under the parks, under the 75,000, the pickleball court, the Ozark bathroom, and then the parking lot at the market, specifically those three items.
So Brad, and if you don't mind, what I was suggesting is you guys can approve the rest of this list
Mhm.
and omit that one is an option. And then that way you'll make sure that when it needs to be brought up, it'll be brought up at the right time. If it hasn't been, if we go back and look through the records and see that it's there, then that's a different story. But we can communicate back if that's the case. But I don't think we have any problem as staff if you decide you don't want to approve that particular line.
And I don't know where we are. Well, I mean, the parking lot at the market and the pickleball courts are already in motion, I believe. So how would that work in that case? I guess would be my only, if we decide to omit those currently while we look into that and make.
Well, I would imagine if they were, you know, it's hard to answer without knowing whether they were approved or not. In my mind, if it's of a certain expenditure, it has to come here. And in my mind, we follow that procedure. So I don't want to answer to something that I don't really have an answer to factually, that I can't speak to without having that information.
You could cut something else that's previously been approved if you had to.
So I guess would we be able to move forward on this without that currently and then take a look at that to make sure that we in fact, you know, and basically, hold on, I'm trying to put my thoughts together here. Can we, would it be an option to move forward without those items, approving those items currently and give us the chance to kind of get the
That's
best
what I
opportunity?
was suggesting, if you want to do
Then,
that.
like Anthony said, if we need to like move the budget around elsewhere, we can do that.
Yeah, and we can have that as a different discussion. So are you saying then leave the rest of this intact, except for that line?
I mean, I've looked over it and I don't see any other concerns. That's the biggest, to me, and kind of looking over everything, that's the only thing I see where I don't see that we approve that. And that's just,
Yeah, and that can always be clarified in the motion that we approve, you know, I motion to approve with the exception of that one.
okay.
Anybody else? Rod?
Just general question, I think. I know the answer, but I just want to confirm that this $75,000 or $65,000 total isn't a bunch of $4,000 or $5,000 items that accumulated up to that amount. These are indeed over the minimum amount that can be done without council approval.
Oh, I see what you're saying. To
Right.
get to that 75,000 total.
Correct.
Yeah, again, I
tell
don't
you,
know
the
without.
Pickleball court was about 10 and the amount is, that's a good point, Rodney, because the pickleball court was 10 and or 10-2 or something, and the council approval amount is 12.5.
Right, so that's, if we're looking at 6 months in aggregate, and it was, you know, a small project, a small project, a small project that are all within the allowable amount without council approval.
Yeah.
It could accumulate to a total of, so that's, I'm just trying
The
to.
original spreadsheet was about 3 pages with all the different incremental items, but then they were, Bill, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, and to point out also that,
But the issue is, and I would just for consideration, again, we can always cut other if we had to. I don't have the amount specifically for the pickleball court, but that one has started. That doesn't necessarily need, the actual contract would need council approval, but if you could possibly, instead of 75, swap that down to, you know, 64, just because that's one that we've got underway. And I know that pickleball court was something that people were definitely interested. I'm not sure where the approval was, but that was not an actual council approval. That was one of what Rodney said, one of the smaller items.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Tammy, a second reading, please.
Bill number 2927, an ordinance providing for the amendment of the fiscal year 2026 budget.
Questions and comments? Roll call vote, please.
Troy Blackshear,
Yes.
Michael Rethmeyer,
Yes.
Matthew Sour,
Yes.
Rodney Mullins,
Yes.
Brad Carey,
Yes.
Michael Rother,
Yes.
Tim Seidenstricker,
Yes.
EJ Fleischman,
Yes.
8 yeas.
Thank you. Resolution 26-20.
Resolution number 2620, a resolution reestablishing revised termination dates for the Board of Adjustment, Board of Appeals, Parks and Recreation, Personnel Board of Review, Planning and Zoning, Police Personnel Board, Veterans Commission, and Foundation Commission.
Thank you. Anthony, would you please explain this resolution?
Here, this just goes along with the prior ordinance, and this just basically affirms the existing appointments.
Very well. Questions and comments?
I just have one question. For us that are up for election next year, if we continue and we're re-elected, do we stay on those boards or are they going to get moved around still?
We'll find out what happens after the next election.
Okay, that was my question.
Each one of the ones where the council participates as a council liaison, they're appointed each year by the mayor.
Okay, so it changes every year. Okay. I wasn't aware of that. I thought it was every terms. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Can we have a motion or a second for approval on this resolution?
Motion.
I'll second.
Troy and then Tim.
Troy Blackshear,
Yes.
Michael Rethmeyer,
Yes.
Matthew Sour,
Yes.
Rodney Mullins,
Yes.
Brad Carey,
Yes.
Michael Rother,
Yes.
Tim Seidenstricker,
Yes.
DJ Fleischman,
Yes.
8 yeas.
Okay, we're up to motions now. A motion to approve liquor license apps, if we have any.
Nothing from the Liquor Committee, Mayor.
Okay, next one is a motion to approve the Good Day Farm, was it motor vehicle, conditional use permit?
Motor vehicle oriented establishment.
Oriented establishment.
Easy for her to say, okay. Read the ordinance, read the motion and we'll go forward.
A motion to approve Good Day Farm Motor Vehicle or,
Oriented establishment.
thank you, conditional use permit.
That's a long way of saying a drive-up window.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah, would you please explain?
Yeah, of course. This is a conditional use request to allow for an online pickup window to be added to the existing Good Day Farm dispensary at 2008 Richardson Road near the Circle K McDonald's. At the Planning Commission's April public hearing, there were some questions related to expected traffic generation that were answered by staff and the applicants. A member of the public asked why sidewalks had not been a part of the original development, and staff clarified that a contribution to the general sidewalk fund was permitted for the dispensary when they built a few years back. The Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the request with 5 conditions of approval. So no action on your part, and that approval stands approved.
All right. Is there any questions or comments on this?
Follow up that question, what are the sidewalks going in?
Well, I'm in favor of that idea. Okay. Okay, but that doesn't have anything to do with this particular motion. So, okay, so if there's no action taken tonight, this conditional use permit stands as approved. Good. All right. Next one, Chipotle.
Motion to approve Chipotle, I'm going to do MVOE and outdoor dining conditional use permit.
Okay, Sarah.
Yes, so this is a conditional use request to allow for the old Jack in the Box site at 1289 Jeffco to be redeveloped into a Chipotle Mexican grill restaurant. The restaurant will have an online pickup only drive-through lane and an outdoor dining patio. At the Planning Commission's April hearing, comments from the commissioners suggested minor changes to striping and traffic islands, which were amenable to the applicant's fairly minor changes. There were also 2 public comments on the nearby Seven Brew and the traffic impacts from that. The commission voted unanimously to approve the CUP with 7 conditions. And again, no action on your part, and it stands approved.
Questions or comments about the Chipotle?
The biggest question that everybody wants answered, when?
Yeah, when.
So actually, they've been chomping at the bit to get their building permits started. So we've already been doing some preliminary review to kind of expedite the process. So essentially after tonight, if they don't get their building permit tomorrow, it'll be early next week. And so demo should happen pretty soon.
Thanks.
EJ?
Yeah, I just have a question. You mentioned traffic and related to Seven Brew, and I was at the meeting, and I don't recall 100% the conversation, but was there a remedy or what would be the solution in that situation? Because I know, like, for example, this weekend on Mother's Day, I had a talk to, or I reached out to Chief, and there was a major issue with Seven Brews, and it was backed up all the way on Jeffco Boulevard. And so given that situation, it's gotten better, but when they do like a major giveaway, Seven Brews continues to back up on both ends. And so is there any, like, what is the remedy, or is there any remedy, or how do you?
So, I mean, of course, Seven Brew isn't what's on for tonight.
Correct.
So there's only so much that can be done. There's also the fact that it's all private property, so it's an internal drive lane. Of course, whenever it gets onto Michigan and Jeffco, it becomes an us problem. But I know that for Chipotle, that was something that came up during their hearings, or it might have been early conversations. And they plan to have extra staff on site whenever they're first opening, because we know that that's going to be when they're really, really busy. So they're at least Chipotle is going to do what they can to manage crowds, basically with extra staff in the parking lots.
At Chipotle, they're not going to have a drive-in window. It's just going to be, it's just for online orders. So it's not going to be Chipotle. Yeah, that's unusual. Okay. Any other comments or questions on this?
Just one last comment.
Sure, Tim.
I talked to a general manager for Chipotle, and they said that the outdoor dining will have tremendous views of the historic Arnold Water Tower. be sure to come and sit and look up at it.
Okay, so anybody else? All right, once again, if there's no action here, this conditional use permit stands approved. Maybe they can take down their public hearing sign now. Okay. Okay. Tammy, a motion for closed session.
Motion to hold a closed session immediately following the city council meeting for the purpose of discussing litigation, real estate, and personnel pursuant to RSMO 610.021, paragraphs 1, 2, and 3.
And I've been on the city council 4 terms now, and I don't think I've ever seen you hit all 3 of them in one night, so. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion to go in closed session. Second. All right, Brad, Michael.
Troy Blackshear,
Yes.
Michael Ruthmeyer,
Yes.
Matthew Saller,
Yes.
Rodney Mullins,
Yes.
Brad Carey,
Yes.
Michael Rother,
Yes.
Tim Seidenstricker,
Yes.
DJ Fleischman,
Yes.
8 yeas.
Okay. We're up to reports from the mayor and council. I don't really have much to go on this time around. I am just reiterating my extreme displeasure with House Bill 2818 and how it unfairly singles out Jefferson County among the 114 counties in Missouri. This all started with St. Joe trying to annex an airport that doesn't touch their city proper. And now somebody's added this onto this bill, and what I've asked you guys to sign now is a petition to go to Mike Kehoe to send it back to the House. Okay. And that's it. 16 May, Superior Industrial Solutions is going to conduct a dry run if they have an accident over there, an industrial accident. They do a lot of blending of different chemicals for use in whatever industry needs those chemicals, and that's been their thing. But anyway, they're gonna do a dry run in case, in the event that they had a spill, what would happen, what would be the response time. So that's taking place on the 16th. That was pretty nice. We got a walk through this a couple months ago. Their preliminary meeting to see how this was gonna be done. So practice makes perfect. That's all I got. Michael Ruthmeyer, you got anything for us?
No, sir. I'll be back soon. I'm in São Paulo, Brazil, so I should be back at the next meeting on the 28th.
Okay, so you're in the middle of winter down there. Okay, I'm sure it's pretty cold, right? No.
Yeah, you need a blanket on your bed.
All
It's
right,
down in the 40s.
there you go. Thank you. EJ?
No report.
Matt?
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay, Tim?
No report.
Michael?
No report.
Troy?
I like to say that anybody who didn't make the TDD meeting the other night, it's on YouTube. So if you want to watch it, you can see it there. Another one in the Mount Vernon subdivision, we got some sinkholes fixed. The mayor lady's really happy because she doesn't have to drive around them. And the other thing is the pickleball courts are half poured today. Looking forward to the next round. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you. Brad?
Oh, I got lots of things. Unfortunately, James isn't here. Want to give him a shout out that he took initiative on the corner of Londell and Old State Road, or the outer road. It's real bad. Instead of pushing it off to MoDOT, he's taking care of. But I had questions in regards to where we stand at the stormwater and road projects over on our side of the highway there in that section. Last I heard, they were still waiting on 10 people, and I'm getting everybody asking me where we're at on an update of that.
Are you talking about Arnold Terrace?
It's like a
It's the little
$4 million
bus street.
project, so it's not only them, it's all the way through the entire subdivisions there. But yeah, Arnold Terrace is part of it.
Yep.
Of course, met with Anthony quite a bit this week. Want to give him a shout out and we have a new building official that started just the other day, and they're already on working through and meeting with the public and getting things straightened away. So things are definitely on its way and moving. And then met with Mr. Crutchley, and we talked about a lot of things. The farmer's market is absolutely taking off this year, so can't wait until the lot gets opened up to help relieve some of that. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Brad?
I have nothing tonight.
Okay, thank you. City administrative reports from the staff. Mark? Anthony?
Just to mention the success of the farmer's market, Dion, our IT employee ended up coming up with like a creative solution for the, is it for the credit card payments? I mean, it was maybe like a $6,000 device versus I think our initial estimates, how many tens of thousands of dollars were they? Yeah, so. Wow. So, I mean, I know that's been a problem for Dave. I hope I didn't, if you were going to say that, but it was, I think Dion deserves some credit for it. It was kind of a thinking out of the box. It's a device that the police department use occasionally. So, and we can use it across multiple departments. So it's kind of like a portable hotspot that can handle many users.
Starlink?
That's helping with the farmer's market. Anyway, that's all I had. I just want to make sure people are aware that his idea, I put it in our weekly, it actually did work.
Sweet. Tammy?
No report, Mayor.
Chief Carroll?
Thanks, Mayor. We have a fun event tomorrow morning, our annual Cop on our Rooftop at Dunkin' Donuts at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's to benefit the Missouri Special Olympics. We'll be out selling torch run t-shirts and hats, so come on out.
How long does that last?
That goes from 6 to noon, and I get a little nervous when police officers climb a ladder to get on top of the roof. But the fire department, they do bring a ladder out and help us get up.
And then they take it down.
Yes. That's all I have.
Bill Lehman? Very well. James is excused. David?
Like Troy was saying, we poured half the pad, 50 yards today. Tomorrow, we're hoping to pour the second part of it. We'll have a 45-day cure out. We can coat it.
Very well. Getting closer. Sarah?
Yes, I have a couple things. So actually on the agenda is an update on Club Car Wash. So by ordinance, when the Planning Commission makes a determination on a conditional use permit, it has to be reported to you all at City Council. So Club Car Wash was, of course, a CUP request to allow for the old Fireside site at 917 Arnold Commons to be redeveloped into a Club Car Wash, which would be their second Arnold location. At the Planning Commission's public hearing, commissioners were concerned with the site design and noise, and there were also public comments on it. Ultimately, the Planning Commission voted 7-3 to table the request for a future date with a revised site plan. In late April, the applicant withdrew that request, and that's kind of where we're at with that. So I just wanted to make sure that you were all updated. Other than that, yesterday, of course, like Brad said, was the first day of our new building commissioner. We're all very excited to work with him. I'm about to be out for 2 weeks on my honeymoon, so I will not be at next week's city council meeting. And whenever I get back in June, we will finally have our new planner, Henry Burvey. So the community development department is very close to being back to normal staffing levels, which we have not been at since August of last year.
Very well. Enjoy your trip. Bob? It's a little bit early to say it, but on the 22nd is when school lets out for the year. And I think it's going to be, it's James's thing, but he's not here tonight. The 26th, I think it's the 26th to the 1st, somewhere in there. Richardson Road at the intersection of Old Lehigh Ferry will be closed for approximately a month. So they're doing finally going to do the new intersection down there. And I'm not going to stop until we get a roundabout. Go ahead.
Are we going to put some signs up in and around that area? Like,
No, we figured people just figured it out the hard way. No, Of course they will.
okay,
Yeah.
like further up by like down from your, from the,
Richardson
yeah,
Glen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because if they turn, then they're gonna,
Get stuck.
yeah, so maybe put signs.
Yeah. Let's not use the other, those two driveways down there.
Right where Richardson dead ends, Richardson Glen subdivision.
Richardson Glen's got the two most ignored stop signs in Arnold.
Right. And then there's a hard right that takes you down to Old Lehigh Ferry Road. So
Yes.
there could be a sign before you make the right to continue down to Old Lehigh Ferry Road. Very true traffic only.
I guess that's all I got. How about we take a 10-minute break before our closed session? Thank you all for coming.